What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Disc Golf Nerd Plastic Podcast, episode 10. And since this is episode 10, I have a top 10 for you guys, and it is my top 10 favorite disc golf courses. Just going to give you guys a little rundown of what the course is like, maybe some of my favorite holes, and just talk about, my top 10. There's a lot of great courses out here in the Pacific Northwest. Just a lot of just phenomenal courses to play. There are a few that you maybe will be surprised are not on my top 10 personally, that you may have heard of or you may have played if you're a local. But it's just my personal top 10. The order is a little bit wishy-washy. I think the top 5 is pretty solid, but it's hard to say. There's so many great courses, and I truly love and enjoy all the top 10 I'm going to give you here, so let's get into it. With number 10, Leverage Park in Vancouver, Washington. It's a relatively short course. It's not a full 18. I think it's maybe like a 15 at this point. I forget exactly because the layout shifts around and I don't get out there all that much. From where I am located, driving to Vancouver, Washington is a little bit of a pain in the ass. There's a lot of traffic and stuff getting over there. So there's so many other courses I can get to while avoiding having to go over the bridge into Washington. So I don't get over there as much as I maybe would like to. It's a really fun little layout. A lot of putter, putter and mid-range shots for me. Definitely some drivers as well. There's a couple of longer holes there, but there's definitely some nice little touch putter shots that are a lot of fun, and it's a good course. It's got a good mix of short and long, uphill, downhill, left and right. It definitely tests your ability to throw a lot of different lines for such a not even a full 18 hole course. There's a lot of different options there, and it's a good layout. A lot of fun. I always have a good time playing through there. It's the perfect course to go there, play through it twice, and it's a solid round, I think. It's got a huge local following. All the Vancouver folks play it a ton. And it can get super swamped on the weekends because of that. You'll see like huge groups of gang golf going on out there with just like a big clump of people throwing. And fun though. Decent beginner course. If you've never played before, I think that would be a pretty good place to go. Give you an idea of how to play, and nothing's terribly difficult where you're going to get super frustrated. It'll show you all the different lines you need to learn how to throw eventually, but it's still relatively friendly. So number 9, you guys might be a little bit surprised that it's so low in my list, but again, I love and enjoy all these courses. Pier Park. Pier Park is a phenomenal course. It's totally worthy of any disc golfer in the world. It's amazing layout, a gorgeous forest with huge old trees and just a really beautiful park. It's a great layout. It's very challenging. A lot of trees, very densely wooded on certain holes. But there are relatively fair fairways on pretty much all of them. They might be tight, but if you pure the line, you can get down there. And it's a great layout. Probably my favorite hole, one of my favorite single holes in disc golf is at Pier Park. And I'm not going to remember what number it is. I think it's like 5 or 6, depending on the layout too. There's 2 different layouts there. But it's a long, sloping downhill shot. I'll just kind of hyzer flip something down there and let it hold. And it's just a beautiful, really fun. I always enjoy throwing downhill. It's a lot of fun. It's not as easy as you think because you still have to get the line just right to get down there and have a putt. But when you birdie it, it feels really great. And it's a beautiful line. Pier Park, definitely an amazing course. Good baskets at Pier Park. They're all like really bright neon Mach X's. They do have the tendency to spit out a little bit. You got to hit them pretty strong, but they catch pretty well if you hit them in the sweet spot. But if your putt's a little bit floppy or flimsy going into the basket, you might get kicked out. Pier Park, number 9, definitely a great layout. Nice mix of different lines you need to throw there as well. And number 7, I believe it has a different name, but I call it Bonneville. It's in Bonneville. It's close to the Bonneville Dam in Washington. It's a beautiful course to drive to, first of all, because I just cruise out Highway 84 along the Columbia River and the amazing Columbia River Gorge. If you guys are not in the Pacific Northwest area, even just Google the Columbia River Gorge. It's an amazing area. Just to take a look at that. Basically, I'll cruise out that way, go over the Bridge of the Gods, which is again super beautiful and has a great view from up there. And when you get over to the other side into Washington, you can cruise around for just a little bit and you hit Bonneville. That's an amazing little 18-hole course nestled down in the gorge there. There's really beautiful scenery, and it's just a good, solid golf layout. Not a ton of elevation. It's mostly flat. There's a couple of holes that bring in a little bit of elevation, but it's relatively flat. Nothing steep, that's for sure. But it's a good layout. Again, balanced. Requires you to throw a lot of different shot shapes, and requires accuracy. There's some wooded shots through a bunch of trees, and there's also some more open stuff. It's usually pretty breezy at Bonneville, so that can get kind of tricky. I believe it might be. I forget what the true name is. I think it might be like Shady Oaks or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. You know what? I'm realizing I forgot one a great course. Maybe I'll throw it in as a bonus after all this. I got a little top 10 list that I'm reading off of. Number 6. Let's move on. Stewart State Park. Stewart is amazing. Oh, I skipped one. What, am I crazy? Yeah, I skipped one. I'll go back. So, I skipped number 8. That's hilarious. I'm not going to cut that out. I'm going to go to it now. Number 8, Buxton Woods. Buxton is a private course. It's an amazing layout. It would probably be higher in my list had I played it more. I've only played it one time, I believe, so far, but I really enjoyed it. It's a beautiful layout. I love the fact that it's private land, so it's only really like serious, decent golfers that are out there. In fact, the time I played it, there was very few golfers out there. I think it was like a weekday, and there wasn't much going on. So we basically had the course to ourselves. It was morning. It was beautiful. The tee pads are really great. The baskets are really great. And there's like a nice picnic table and push brooms on like all the tee pads, so you can clear the tee pad of pine needles or dirt or anything like that if you want to, which is a nice touch. And it has that kind of well taken care of private feel to it. It's a really, really fun layout. I've heard they put in a full extra 9 at this point that I've never played, so that would be really fun to check out. I hope to get out there soon. The nice thing about Buxton as well, as just being a super fun layout with a lot of different shots, good elevation, uphill, downhill, all different shapes you need to throw. Some really fun throws there that I deeply enjoyed. One of the beautiful things about it is that it's right by Stewart State Park, which is my number 6. So let's jump back to there. That's funny. So, Stewart State Park is within maybe 10 or 15 minutes of Buxton. And what I like to do, and I think it's a solid move, is you can get a cabin or camp at Stewart, and then play Stub, hang out for the night, get a fire going, crash there. Beautiful stars that you can check out at Stub. And then get up in the morning and cruise over to Buxton and play Buxton. So they're both right there. It's super fun. Stewart is just a phenomenal course. It's gorgeous. A lot of elevation. It's a pretty substantial hike to walk through the whole course, in my opinion. But it feels great being back in those woods. It's just dead quiet. There's no outside sound whatsoever. You're out in the middle of nowhere in the woods there. It's just amazing. I'll see like a lot of beautiful deer wandering around in there. One time I was playing it by myself. It was in the morning. I threw down to one of the baskets, and there was like all these like forest snails hanging out down by one of the baskets there. It's just a really just tremendous track of woods and just a forest to hang out in, let alone throw a really great round of disc golf that requires, again, all the different shots in the bag: uphill, downhill, straight, tunnel shots, bending right, bending left, long holes there too. There's some par 4s and stuff through the woods. I'm not sure if there's any par 5s. I think it's just 3 and 4s. I could be wrong. Tremendous layout. The first time we played there, it was pretty serious. It was really cold, and it was just an amazing round. So I really love Stub Stewart. Could probably be in my top 5, but again, the margins between these are all really slim. I just kind of put them in order to put them in order. But yeah, Stub Stewart, highly recommend playing it. The only thing I would say about Stub Stewart is I definitely recommend using spotters on a lot of the holes there. You can get into a lot of trouble, especially the downhill ones, where if your disc stands up in the right way, it'll just keep carrying, and you'll never see it again. It gets super thick there, so I recommend playing it in the winter. Some of these courses are definitely better played in the winter when it's not as overgrown. Some of the trees or the ground covered plants like ferns and stuff will shrink a little bit for the season, and it's makes it much easier to deal with when it's not quite as overgrown. So yeah, I recommend playing Stub in the wintertime, but it's a phenomenal course. Next one, Timber Park in Estacada. Timber Park is a big layout, which is fun. It's like 21 holes, I think, because they took out a few of the holes at one point to do some construction, and then they added some temporaries, but people liked them, and they had the baskets there, and everything was good. So they left them in, and basically once they opened the other holes back up, they just made it a 21 hole layout, and it's great. It's a lot of fun. Mostly flat, probably the most flat out of any of the courses on this list that I can think of here. Yeah, definitely the least elevation change on any of the courses on this list. But still really fun, requiring all the shots in the bag. Again, there's a few like really long holes there. One super long, like I think 700-foot par 3, which kind of gets a little ridiculous. It's tough to get there, but it's a really fun layout. I am playing out there next weekend. I'm stoked for it. It's also nice that there is a access to what's called Estacada Lake, which is the Clackamas River is dammed up, and you can go walk out onto this dock, jump and do a cannonball into really ice cold clear river that's beautiful, and there's no current and stuff because of the dam there, and it's really deep, so it's a beautiful spot to swim on a hot day. It's really cold, but it's still really nice. So after the round, to jump in there on a really hot day is beautiful. Highly recommended. Number 4, probably the course I play the most. It is my principal testing ground when I have drivers and stuff to test out. It's my favorite course to go to for that because it's really easy to get to, and it's mostly open on the one side, so I can test stuff without having to worry about losing it. It's challenging enough that it's still interesting to play, even though I've played it a bunch. But it's open enough that I don't worry too much about losing plastic on a bunch of the holes there. Very manageable in terms of keeping track of your stuff. So it's a great testing ground. Rooster Rock State Park. Just gorgeous. Sometimes I kind of take it for granted how beautiful it is at Rooster, and how beautiful it is driving out to Rooster as well. It's on the same stretch of highway that I talked about in the Columbia River Gorge going out to Bonneville. Rooster is much closer though. It's on the Oregon side. It's just a beautiful track. I love it. It's got 2 9-hole courses there. One of them is quite open. It brings a little pond, kind of lagoon of the backwaters of the Columbia River into play a couple of times, but not too much. They actually changed the layout recently, so you're not really bringing the water into play very much. You kind of have to mess something up to end up in it now. That being said, it's still a really fun layout. It's beautiful. It can get really windy and kind of rough there at times, depending on what's going on with the wind, but for the most part, it's a beautiful course to play, and I highly recommend it. And then the other side, the east course, is super wooded and has a ton of elevation, and it's a beautiful little hike as well. So playing them both is a super balanced and very interesting 18-hole round, and I like it quite a bit. I've played there a whole bunch in the last few years, again, mostly because I prefer to test disc there when I can. It's great course. I love Rooster Rock. I have a couple of videos featuring Rooster Rock on my channel. If you guys want to check that out, just search it. You should find them. Number 3 is Dabney State Park. Well, this one, the plot thickens on this one, guys, because Dabney State Park is amazing. It's a great 18-hole layout. I would probably consider it my home course. I've played there a lot, and my friends love it there. It was the first place I ever played disc golf, and not a great place to play your first round, I wouldn't say. In theory, it's not a terribly challenging course, and like there's definitely opportunities for birdies out there. But to put them all together and over the course of an 18-hole round and shoot well, it just maintains a huge level of difficulty for me over the years. So, as much as I love it and totally cherish it as one of my favorite courses, I can really hate it some days too, where it gets the better of me. I've I never shoot all that well there. I've been hovering right around the same exact score, like one or two over all the time when I play there, just because I cannot string together the round that'll get me even par there, and I don't know what it is. It is a very balanced course. Again, the first like 10 holes are more open, and then you kind of enter into a patch of woods to finish out the course. Hole 17, if it's in the long position, can just destroy your round. Just done. Like there are times where you can be doing pretty good, and then you'll take a 6 on 17 and it's just over. So even if I'm like, doing pretty well, I'm always kind of like in the back of my mind, like, damn, I still need to see this out and I got to get through 17. If it's in the short position, it's much more doable. But a par feels like a birdie when it's in the long position, as far as I'm concerned. I don't see how you could possibly to it without a throw in. I don't see how it's possible. Maybe you guys disagree if you've played Dabney before, but it's a great course. Totally love it. Good elevation there too. Great mix of holes. From there's a few just big open holes, and then there's a bunch of very tight technical shots. Some short, some long. Theme out here in Portland. There's just a lot of balanced and well-designed courses. Super spoiled for that. So Dabney, number 3. If somebody says, what's your home course? That's probably my most likely answer would be Rooster or Dabney. Yeah, great course. Number 2, Hornings Hideout. Now, Hornings Hideout is actually 3 courses, but I'm gonna just consider it as one, because yeah, I'm not gonna break it up. If I go out there, I can choose to play whatever I want to play. I've actually never played the third and most challenging course there, because the middle course, Canyon, is just so fun that every time I go there, I want to play Canyon. And then if we have some more time and we want to throw like a bonus round and mess around a little bit more, I usually end up playing the little short putter course, which is called Highlands, because that's a fun little course. All you really need is putters, and you can have a lot of fun. Make a bunch of ace runs and birdies, and it's just super fun little layout. So I never end up playing the really long one, but hopefully I'll do that this summer finally and check it out. But Canyon, the middle course, is just great. Gorgeous woods, beautiful forest. It's mostly short for sure. I throw a lot of magnets and envies and putters off the tees there. I just love the layout. It's super fun. There's a lot of elevation, and it's used in a really good way, a functional way, and just a beautiful course. I absolutely love Hornings Hideout. The finishing hole on Canyon is a big downhill. I think it's a par 4 even. Yeah, it's definitely a par 4. Yeah, it's like a big downhill par 4. Beautiful shot, super fun. You got to kind of bend around a tree, but usually your second shot on that hole is awesome. It's like way down the hill, and it feels really great to throw a nice second shot on that hole. Absolutely love Hornings Hideout. One of my top choices are for as far as places to take people who are visiting, who want to check out some Portland courses. One thing that you could say is a downside for Hornings Hideout is the baskets are all homemade. They're made out of truck rims, like tractor trailer truck rims. And then I don't know what he used for the top of the basket assembly, but honestly, if you hit them clean, they catch great, and they're bright yellow painted. They're all exactly the same, and they all function exactly the same way. So you really can't complain about them. The only thing that sucks about them is if you doink the front of the tray, it goes like tong, and it makes like this tone sound because it's a solid piece of metal. It's not an actual basket, and that sound is just really frustrating to hear because you doinked it and you didn't get it high enough to hit the chains. Yeah, Hornings Hideout, amazing. Number one, how could I not put Milo MacGyver as my number one disc golf course? It's in many high level players' top 5 courses in the world. I've heard it mentioned more than any other course in the Portland area in terms of like high quality, amazing courses that are on like it's on people's bucket list to play Milo, and I get to get out there whenever I want. I don't play it as much as some other courses just because it's a little bit farther out of town, but it is just so good. Everything you've heard about it is, I mean, it's every bit as good as what you've heard. It's amazing. Gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful forests, beautiful fairways. It's right along the Clackamas River. Amazing stuff. I absolutely love Milo MacGyver, and I feel blessed every time I'm out there throwing around. I also, every year for the last several years, go and check out the Beaver State Fling tournament and watch the top players in the world play the really beautiful expanded layout that they put in for the Beaver State Fling every year. It's amazing. I'll always try to play that layout as well because it basically gets expanded to two full 18-hole courses that just have it all: long, short, technical, open. You got to be able to throw far to shoot really well there and compete with the top players in the world. They're uncorking some huge throws, and you have to be accurate every step of the way. And there's a lot of tight technical shots there. It's just amazing. Everything you've heard about MacGyver, it's every bit as good as that. And it's right on the Clackamas River. It's actually right on the other side of the river from Timber Park that we talked about earlier. So you can actually see timber from MacGyver and vice versa if you're in the river there. But yeah, just an amazing spot. And then after the round, go take a dip in the river. Totally great. I actually hung out with Steve Rico at the river one year after the Beaver State Fling, and he was telling me about the round and stuff. He was a super cool guy. We were throwing around a mini. Him and my buddy and my wife we were all hanging out there, and then like Climo was hanging out there by the river and stuff. It's just awesome. So yeah, I can't wait for the Beaver State Fling again this year. I'm hoping that I can get out there and play around on the tournament layout for sure. It's possible me and DG Weekly will actually try to get together for one of those rounds. He's got all those Central Coast disc golf connections, so he might be able to hook up some pros for us to play with. I have played with professional players for a warm-up round of the Beaver State Fling one year. I was nowhere near my playing level now. I would love to do it again as a much more substantially better player than I was in those days. But I played with Dana Vici, Paul Oman, and Sarah Hokum, and I forget the other woman's name. I can't remember her name. I think it might actually be Dana's wife, Ashley. I could be butchering that. I hope I'm not. But anyway, she was there as well, and me and my buddy Mike, and it was amazing throwing with those folks. Hokum was just ripping her sidearms. That was actually the year she won her first Worlds. That year, so I bragged about that a bunch. Like, oh yeah, the girl won Worlds. I played with her out at MacGyver. She was awesome. Really fun. So yeah, can't wait for the Beaver State Fling. It's going to be great. So that is my top 10 disc golf courses in Portland. I forgot about a couple. I could say Blue Lake is a great course, but it's not one that I tend to prefer out of those top 10 that I just listed. I'd rather play there. Never played Trojan. I've heard great things about it, seen a lot of footage of people playing there. I forgot about Shampooey, which is like the goofiest named course out here, but really fun and another great layout. But again, don't get out there all that much. But that one could be on my top 10. That might bump Leverage Park if I really thought about it. But Who knows? It's all subjective. It's just talking golf with you guys like I like to do. Thanks very much for listening. I'll check you guys later. Cheers. Oh, before I let you go, what are your favorite courses? Enough about me. Let's talk about some of your favorite spots. What are your some of your favorite courses and why? Where are you guys located? Let me know what's going on, and then we can talk about it in the comments. Cheers, guys.